Have you hit a wall in your real estate journey? Are you still juggling a full-time job and have a small portfolio wondering why you can't break through? In this video, we're going to show you the roadmap to scale from a handful of doors to hundreds or even thousands. And you can get your life back, man. You can get freedom. Most investors plateau because they lack a clear framework, a supportive community, and a tribe. The 0 to 100 Mastermind is built around 5 pillars: mindset, education, deals, investors, and operations. We do 3 marathon mastermind calls every month. We have access to School of Scale. We call it the Retirement Number 1 or R1 framework. And listen, this all takes the mystery out of scaling and cash flow real estate. This is why we do it, man. It's all about time freedom. It's about using the vehicle of real estate to get our freedom back. And basically it comes down to choices. Instead of living life on other people's terms, we live life on our terms. That's what we're talking about today. How do you use something like the 0 to 100 Mastermind? How do you use School of Scale? How do you use the framework that we built? How do you use that to actually do what people are trying to do every single day? What do you guys think?
I think you got to get around people that are doing what you're doing. You got to get around people that are, 1 step, 5 steps, 10 steps ahead of you. I think real estate is often a solo journey. It's a journey without a tribe, without a community. I know when I started investing in real estate, it was me and some books and, searching for properties online. And, when I started getting around other people that were living life in a big way, that were scaling, their real estate portfolio, seeing what was possible. The first time I went to a paid event and I thought I was big, I had 17 units and I'm meeting people that have hundreds and even thousands of doors. It wasn't a jealous thing. It was an inspiring thing. And I'm like, these are just normal people that had a big dream. They wanted and believed that it was possible for them through cash flow real estate, and they went for it, And so for me, being around other people that are playing this game in a big way was a huge driver for my success. Absolutely.
Well, I love this topic because I think that you can go read the books, you can listen to the podcast, listen to this video. That's great, right? You can get educated, learn the tactics. But without the people and without the mindset, and when I say mindset, there's so many things in mindset we could dive into. It's like, what's your self-identity? What's your level of confidence? What are your self-limiting beliefs? What are your fears, right? And what voice do you let leads your life? I think that when you get around the right people, you start to adopt a different voice and you start to adopt a different identity. And we're tribal. Humans are tribal. Humans want to be like those that they surround themselves with, right? You hang out with people that are healthy, you're going to get healthy. You hang out with people that are doing drugs, pretty soon you're probably going to be doing drugs and ending up like them. So I think getting around the right people, joining a mastermind with people that are moving in the direction that you want to move is like the ultimate hack, right? Beyond, hey, I have the tactics. We can all learn how to underwrite properties or to talk to brokers or to negotiate, which are all amazing skills to learn. But I see a lot of people learn that and they do not get around the right people and they don't adopt the right mindset and the perspective and they're stuck. We were just talking today, Travis and I, it's a cocktail. You got to learn the tactics, yes, but you've got to adopt the right mindset. And without that, you're stuck. And I see it all the time. And I know in my life, I was going solo for a long time. And I went from 19 years old to 32 years old before I joined my first mastermind. And I had 5 units. Today, I'm a part of about 500 units, a partner in 500 units, 100 times difference. And yes, there's a couple other things tactically, but mostly it was the people I was around and the people that inspire me every day that keep pushing me.
Yeah, the math is easy. Look at Mitch. He just did simple math, and that's tricky for him at times, right? The math, but no, really, all joking aside, the math of understanding how to identify real estate opportunities, it's there. It's income minus expenses equals net operating income. But at the end of the day, and something that we talk about in the Elite Mastermind all the time is what's your pull? And I think you and I were talking about this, Mitch. If you don't start with that burning why, why the hell am I doing this? Why, money's great, right? But I can tell you, it's what is pulling you to that? Why do you do this? Why do you wake up every day? Because it is hard work, right? You do got to learn a lot of things and you got to make a lot of calls. But at the end, you got to underwrite a lot of deals. But if you get up every day, hell yeah, I want time with my kids. This is they're, 9 and 10 years old. This is a unique time in their life. I want to spend time with them. That's my why. That's what drives me to get up every day and do this. And I think if you don't have a really burning why, then you're going to fizzle out because shit gets hard at times.
What was your why, Mitch?
Yeah, it's interesting. We were just talking about this week because I think we bring up our why a lot, Travis and I, in our business, Cadia. My why was to be with my kids, was to grow a family and be with my kids. And And beyond that was like to have adventures with my kids, right? To be there for anywhere from I can walk my kids to school and I can be at their soccer games or their plays or whatever, all the way to I can take my kids across the world. What's interesting is my why is changing today because I think I've achieved that why. I'm so extremely grateful to have achieved that why. I can be there for my children. I've reached this stage where I'm not flying around on private jets, but I have exactly what I wanted. Well, today I noticed, and Travis and I were talking about this, our growth has been a bit plateaued over the last year or so. And I don't think it's to do with tactics. I still know how to underwrite properties. I still know how to talk to brokers. I still know all those things. But when you achieve your why, I think it's also good to reevaluate your why because sometimes you need to grow your why bigger. We're talking about establishing maybe a new why or a modified why. And I think as you grow in this investing career and you possess certain skills and you grow to certain places and achieve things, you start to realize like, well, maybe I have the power to help other people or the power to give back or the power to like grow something even bigger than myself or to follow a purpose that's bigger than myself. So I think my initial why is changing a little bit. I probably had inside that why some insecurities, I wanted to prove myself. There's some other things there, but I see as I get older and I've grown my portfolio, I think that why is changing for me.
Yeah. I mean, I think you talk about your why changing. I agree. My why was really unhealthy. I tell people this all the time. Like I was the fear of being, I was raised in modest means and I was pretty mediocre at everything I've done. And so my why was to be, excellent at something, to stand out. And I tied my why to financial gains. And I got up every single day and worked my ass off every single day because my why was to not be mediocre and to kind of crush my competition because I'm competitive in that way. And I did. I grew a company and I sold it and had massive financial success. And Mitch knows this because he followed me through this journey, man. I was depressed for several years because I kind of lost my why and I became like a rudderless ship. And I'm just kind of coming out of that 5 years later, and my why has changed, right? Because I just took my family to Greece. I do have an amazing life, and it's funded through cash flow real estate. But my why is changing, and the why maybe it's to like teach your kids that, to teach other people, not just your kids, teach thousands of people. Like, here's a life that you can have. It's available to everybody out there, especially in this country. And the why does change, and I'm in the middle of that shift. In all honesty, like I'm still trying to identify what that why looks like. But the closer I hone in on my new why, the more excited I am to get up every day. And I start getting that rudder back on that ship. And I'm excited to get after it. And I think if you're at it alone, reading the books, like you said, Gabe, trying to understand the tactics, that's great, but that only goes so far. But if you're around 100 other people or 2 other people or 3 other people and your why is similar and everybody's charging it, everybody in our mastermind is all about time freedom. And it's not about, I want X dollars in the bank. It's, I want the freedom to be with my parents as they get older. I want the freedom to be with my kids and teach them. And then also I want to teach other people to do that. That like charges me. I get more excited about people in our elite mastermind success when they're like, yeah, we just closed on our first mobile home park and it's generating $5,000 a month in passive income. I'm like, hell yeah. That gets me excited, more excited than my own success or the fact that I just took down another mobile home park that's generating more cash flow for me. I get more excited about that.
Gabe, what about you? What's your why? What drove you to where you are today? And then maybe also talk about like, what's the why going forward? Has that changed for you?
Yeah, it's interesting. Like when I think back, the very early years, I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and I'm like, fuck yeah, retire young, retire rich. In fact, that was one of the early books I read too, was Retire Young, Retire Rich. And that was kind of my mantra. It was like, retire young, retire rich. And, I was like, what does that mean? But I read those books like before getting deployed to Iraq. And so, I'm telling all my friends on our deployment, and again, I was living in a friend's attic. You guys know the story. I was living in a friend's attic for $100 a month prior to the deployment. And I'm reading these books and I'm just like, fuck yeah, I'm going to be rich and it's going to be through real estate, and I get deployed and I'm telling all my friends, like, I'm going to come back and I'm going to build this real estate empire and I'm going to be financially free. And I know you guys have heard the story a million times, but they're like, you're an idiot. They're like, you're an idiot. You didn't go to school. You're living in a friend's attic for $100 a month. You've never had like a real job. I mean, I've worked all these, odd and low paying jobs and whatnot, but I'm like 19 or 20, like when I get deployed. And I come back and I start buying real estate. But it was really like, after I bought a few deals, it was more the reflection of like, why is it that I feel so driven to be financially free? And what it really came down to is it's the time freedom and autonomy. Like I wanted to own my time. I was really attracted to the idea of like not having a boss, not working for someone else, not giving up hours and hours of my day and my week and my month and my entire life to go make somebody else wealthy, to go make some other company wealthy and just be a cog in, someone else's wheel. Like I wanted freedom and I wanted autonomy. And a lot of that was driven by, I had young kids. I wanted to be a part of their life. I didn't want to come home from a job just tired and being that dad. I wanted to be in their lives. So, when my kids were little, I mean, they're like almost adult. My kids now are like 15 and 17. When they were little, it was all about going to the park and hanging out with them, like sitting and playing Legos for hours. Like that was important to me. But for me, when I realized it was about the time freedom, it was like, I want time with my wife. I want time with my kids. I want time to work out. I want time to travel. It was about autonomy. And that was the real driving force. Yes, it was stacking properties. And yes, it was about creating cash flow, but it was cash flow so that I could have not only financial freedom, but time freedom to live my life the way that I want to live it. So even though like the why can change, that's still a big driving factor of like, I want to own my time and I want the ability to decide how every day is for me. I don't want someone else deciding that.
Well, it's interesting you said that. I was at an event last week and there was a speaker up there and he was talking about how he had this coach that was taking him through all of his why. And he said it was sort of the 7 layers deep question. And they'd ask, well, why 7 times, right? Before you sort of get to the base. Like conceptually, that was the idea. But basically, he worked all the way back from like, oh, I want to build a business and I want to be an author. I want to be a speaker I want cash flow and I want wealth. And he worked all the way back, all the way down to his 7th layer. And his 7th layer was really similar to ours, but it was, I want to control. I want to control my life. So if my daughter has an event, I have the control to go. I can go there, or I can go to work, or I can go get a workout in, or I can go be there for a loved one or somebody who's sick. Like it's full control and autonomy. And you mentioned that, and that I think is related to time freedom. The thing that's rare in this world is most people are not in control. We don't live in a society that we have slaves anymore, thank God, but we have a lot of economic slaves, right? People who are a slave to the dollar because they have a mortgage to pay, a car payment, a student loans, whatever that is. And we've lost control in this country, not just control of our physical. One sec, Trav, and then I'll jump in. We've not just lost control of our physical being, we've lost control of our mental as well. And this society has no control. So we're driving in a car to work after waking up and spending time on social media to return to watch Netflix or jump on Facebook or Instagram. We've lost total control of our physical body and our mind. And I think in this society, gaining control is very, very rare, but it's needed to live a big life. And that's what we offer in our mastermind. We want to teach people, look, you can control your mind, you can control your destiny, you can control your money, you can control your time, so you can actually do things that actually fucking matter.
But I think, no, it's that you hit it on the head. And I always go back to kind of as a conspiracy theorist, we are taught at a young age to give up control. You go to school, in elementary school, raise your hand to go pee, raise your hand to do this, and don't work as a team. Don't think outside the box, rote memory, remember these things. So we're taught at an early age to lose control and to actually give our control to other people. And when you're taught that at a young age, all the way through grade school, middle school, high school, by the time you're in college and off to the real world, like that's just second nature. I don't have control of my life, and everybody is just, they've relegated themselves to that. It's like the Matrix, right? The red pill or the blue pill. It's like you take the pill and you're like, oh shit, I do have control over my own thoughts. I do have control over my own destiny. I can do this.
I was going to say, that's the important piece. Like you can absolutely take back control.
But you got to take it. And woo-woo or whatever, you got to step up to the plate. You got to take it back. Because otherwise, if you're not taking control every single morning with the right practice or the right meditation or taking a walk and get off your phone, right? Or you're not spending time focusing on eating healthy or working out or reading and absorbing the right information, then the world will take control. And it's like no other time in history because there's so many mediums hitting us in the face at once. And by the way, these mediums are all addictive too, and they're trained to be addictive. You look at social media, they went and studied the casinos to understand how to capture us, how to capture our monkey brain and give us dopamine hits. So they've designed their business to take control. So if you want to take control, it's not just like a choice, it's like this huge action. You've got to take control of your life. But once you do, the fruits are so great. Like being able to move across the country to support my brother-in-law who is dying of cancer, that's the biggest maybe why beyond hanging out with my kids that I could think of. So the rewards of taking control are so massive that it's like you've got to, like, I don't know if you're sitting in I always think of people sitting in their car driving to LA to work. I don't know why I think about that, but I was just in LA yesterday and I was driving
I know why you're thinking
traffic.
about that. I know why you're thinking about that because I had a buddy that lived in LA and I asked him how long it takes to get to his house. He goes, it depends on the day. It could be 45 minutes, it could be 3 hours. And sometimes his commute to work's 3 fucking hours. And I'm like, no fucking way. Like just that alone is not time freedom. And that's to go to a job, to work all day.
It's real. And I think about those people every day because, and I was just in that traffic yesterday where we were going back to the airport and I'm just sitting there going, all these people have lost control of their lives. They do not have choice anymore. And they're full grown adults. These are not 5 or 6-year-olds who have parents who don't allow them to have certain controls. These are 40-year-olds, 50-year-olds, 60-year-olds. And so like, I just think it's whether you join our mastermind or you read our books or our information or whatever, and you want to take control through real estate, I think this concept is so big. Make a choice and go take control of your life. Because if you don't, the costs are really, really great.
Well, I remember when I first listened to Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad Poor Dad, I remember listening to it in a car, droning my way to work. And he talks about, he's like, look, I can tell you the tactics all day long. Unless you have the right mindset, it doesn't mean shit. And the way I equate that to retuning your antenna, because we all have antennas, right? We all have the same inputs, right, around us. And if your antenna is tuned wrong, you're seeing fear, you're seeing scarcity, you're not seeing opportunity. You're looking at the world through the wrong lens. And something we do in our mastermind, before we even get into the R1 framework and the tactics on how to find deals and underwrite them and create cash flow and the metrics, we're talking about retuning your antenna and saying, wait a minute, why not me? Why can't I do this? And as soon as you retune your antenna, all of a sudden the world looks really different than everybody else. 99% of the people see the world one way. It's the 1%. It's not 1% because they have 1% of the wealth. It's the 1% because they see the world differently. They look around and they see opportunities. They see business opportunities. They see real estate opportunities. And after I listened to that, I remember driving around, looking around going, holy shit, there's opportunities everywhere in business and real estate. And I think and that's why if you go into our R1 framework and you decide to join us in the 0 to 100 Mastermind, or if you read our book, the first, I think, several chapters is all about mindset, because without that, like, do not pass go, do not collect $200. You got to get the right mindset. And I think the same goes for people. And this goes back to some of the tactics. People have a hard time. They might get a few doors, and then they have failure. They're running applications. They get an HVAC unit that dies. All their cash flow goes out the door and they quit. They just quit. They're like, this is bullshit, because it reinforces the beliefs they already have that they've been taught their whole lives, right? And that's why, we started this show at the top of the show, we talked about why do some people get stuck at a few doors, 5 doors? And that's my question to you guys. Like, why is it that some people stop at 5 doors and actually just own a bunch of jobs, single family houses, maybe, a few $100s in cash flow here and there? How do some people actually scale beyond that and have hundreds or thousands of units and have the actual true cash flow and time freedom? Like, what's the magic sauce there? If people are listening to this and they're like, well, yeah, that's great. I have 5 units and it like makes me want to pound my head into a wall. I guess my question to you, Gabe, and then I'll ask Mitch the same question. What is it that makes people break beyond that and really, truly use the vehicle of real estate to achieve time freedom?
I 100% believe the magic sauce is expanding your mindset and getting around people that are already doing what it is that you want to do. That literally is my story. Like, I built up, a decent real estate portfolio. Like, it was going well. I had 10 units, then 17 units, then 25 units. But when I got around people that had hundreds of units and thousands of units, I realized it sounds so cliche, but your network is your net worth. Like, your net worth is directly correlated to your network.
It's the biggest mindset hack, for sure.
It's an absolute mindset hack, because it's 2-part, right? You can really compress timeframes. When there's someone that you can call up or ask, text, phone call, and you can get 20 years of experience in a 30-minute phone call, you're compressing timeframes. Instead of having to bang your head against the wall for a couple decades to figure out what they've already learned, You can learn a lot through mistakes of your own mistakes, but you can also learn a lot through other people's mistakes. So when you have people in your network that have already experienced those kind of pains and those kind of successes, you can learn from them. And so part of it is very tactical. Like, I truly believe that when you get around people that are living life in a big way, and they're, because we all invest in real estate, let's say they're investing in real estate in a big way, you're oftentimes one conversation, one relationship, one idea away from taking your life, your business to that next level. And there's some tactical advice. Like, I've been to masterminds and meetups where somebody says something that I can go implement. It's very obvious. Hey, have you thought about this? And I'm like, oh my gosh, I should implement this in my business. I mean, you guys gave me a campground software, like, one conversation that was very easy to implement. But other times it's the energy around it. You see people that are living life in a big way, then it's, yes, there's some tactical. They say something, they give you advice, you can implement that in your life. But sometimes it's just the energy of being around people that are playing life big and living life large and living life on their terms. Like, there's an energy around that I think is really important. So there's both the tactical piece to it and just being in a room with people that have that energy and are living a life that you're attracted to.
It makes it a reality, right? If you're going to work, you're droning to work, and you're around other people that are slaves to the time clock, that's your reality. That's what you know, and that's life to you, right? But if you're surrounding yourself, if you leave your job and you get on a mastermind, let's say, or get around people that are living the life you want, in my mind, it's like, oh my God, this is actually real. Like, this is this is possible. I don't have to be a trust fund baby. I don't have to win the lottery. Like, I can live this life too. And it starts to become more of your like normal fabric. You're like, you start thinking differently. And I think that's the biggest mindset hack. It's like, you're around people that are living, like maybe around 20 people every week, you're getting on a call and they're all living this life. And you're like, oh, it becomes more of a reality.
The dangerous part is the default setting is the opposite of that. If you're not part of a group or part of a community, part of a tribe that's thinking that way and doing those things, the default setting is usually people complaining about their job, complaining about their health, complaining about their spouse, complaining about their life. And it's this, woe is me, life sucks, this is hard, there's no other way. I'm a slave to the system. I'm a slave to the dollar. I'm a slave to the hour and my week and my day, slave to the man. Like, it's, that's the crazy part. Like, if you don't get dialed in with some type of community, and it doesn't have to be ours, like some type of community, then the default setting is usually pretty fucking negative. And that's going to be that repeat that's in your mind day after day after day. And you're going to have these so-called friends feeding you that. Yeah, you're right. Life's hard. Yes, you're right. You can never get ahead. Yes, like you'll never, you're getting these little raises that don't keep up with inflation. Like, to me, like, yeah, you don't want that as a default setting.
Mitch, what do you think? How can some people, we were sitting in this office and we asked ourselves this question when we sort of created the 0 to 100 Mastermind concept. We were like, why is it that some people maybe get to 3, 4, 5, maybe 10 doors and stop? And that's like, they're at max capacity and they never achieve the time freedom they want, while others actually scale and actually can leverage the vehicle of real estate to achieve significant and meaningful time freedom in their life. What do you think, if you had a gun in your head and someone said, sum it up in 30 seconds, how is it that some people do and others don't? What would that be? And I'm going to time you 30 seconds.
I'm going to take 2 minutes. I think that, first of all, I am a constant learner. I believe that we should all learn, we should be learning every single day. So I always say, look, read the books, listen to the podcasts, learn the tactics, learn how to underwrite, learn how to negotiate, learn all those basic skills. That's true. And I did that throughout my 20s and it got me some fruit, right? I actually got some reward. I got 5 units. Now I couldn't get above that. And that's why we had that conversation, because I could not figure out how to break through. I learned about masterminds. I learned about groups. I learned about tribes. I learned that these things were out there. To me, it didn't make sense, right? I was like, oh, well, I'm going to go pay $10,000 to do what? I already know this information. I could buy a $20 book. I did it finally. I finally took a leap. I joined my first mastermind. And right away, I looked at it wrong. I thought, oh, what are they going to tell me? They're not going to tell me what to do. And by the way, they didn't tell me what to do. But what happened is they downloaded a new iOS, a new operating system. It's not that I just went in and learned all these new tactics. I learned how to think differently. I learned how to look at the world differently. I got access to different contacts and I got access to an entirely different perspective. And so I think that when people look at like a mastermind or a tribe or a group, a lot of times they're like, well, I've read the books. I've done the things, whatever. And I know what I know. Let me tell you, you don't. And your operating system is default from the default tribe, like Gabe talked about. Your operating system is from your parents. It's from the education system. It's from social media. It's from the news. It's from your workplace, your colleagues. That's your operating system. Until you change the operating system, you can't run the software of real estate scale the correct way. I couldn't either. I was at 5 units. Since then, like I talked about, my portfolio, I'm a part of 500 units today. It's 100 times different than 5 units. It's vastly different because I look at the world differently. Plus, I have the tactics. So for me, I think it's the tactics, it's the strategies, it's all those things that we all know how to learn and go get. We can all do that. But it's surrounding yourself with the right people. And by the way, not just the right people. What does right mean? Right means the people that are living the life you want to live. Stop listening to people that are not living the life you want to live. I talked to real estate investors before at 3 or 4 units. And I go, what do I do? And I take all this information from them. And then guess what? I had 3 or 4 units, 5 units. I didn't have anything. You've got to find people that are living the life you want to live. They actually have the results that you want and get around them because they'll change the way you think, they change the way you operate, they change your action, and therefore they're going to change your results.